Hello, denizens. I watched Jimmy Kimmel's victory lap monologue. I should mention that I did not stay up to watch it live because I didn't want to have nightmares. I watched it like many of you curious people on YouTube, where it has, as of this writing, heading past 10 million views. It was a 28-minute opening, and who knows what the retention numbers are going to be, but I digress. So, I want to make clear where I'm coming from regarding my review of Jimmy's opening. I don't like politicization of late-night talk. I don't like the fact that much of Kimmel's, Colbert's, Meyer's time is consumed by political commentary. All are personable people whom I don't watch anymore. One, because American politics doesn't have a lot of relevance to me here in the Great White North, and two, it's not funny. Making fun of Trump is not hard. He writes his own material, and to be honest, I prefer the Carson Letterman-Leno style of late-night talk. I don't need to be wound up just before going to bed. And besides, Jon Stewart is still on, as is John Oliver. There's no lack of comedic political commentary, but it's not my call, and the hosts of late night can do whatever they want. I also think it's lazy. Recounting the idiotic behavior of others, especially politicians, for laughs, well, those aren't jokes. And people like Kimmel and Samantha Bee don't even have the courtesy to write a punchline. They just let the smirking exposition hang until the audience provides the obligatory clap thing like trained seals. I understand jokes are hard to write, especially when you're doing 4 or 5 shows a night, but there was something special seeing Johnny Carson bomb and then stay in a pissy mood throughout the rest of his show. And finally, while there is no doubt Kimmel can deliver jokes, he's been doing his show for 22 years. I'm not a fan of his nasty style of comedy. I'm also not going to recount what got us here. So, with all that aside, what did I think about his monologue? Well, let's do the comedy science analysis. In 28 minutes, how many jokes did Kimmel deliver? The very opening, where the enormity of the evening is played up, and then Jimmy is dressed as a hamster and Guillermo in a banana suit reveal was, well, that was cute. And then he received a very long and enthusiastic ovation from his audience, which should not have been a surprise to anyone. His, as I was saying before I was interrupted line, well, that was pretty good. The interrupting celebrity family feud line, however, fell flat. The CEO of Tylenol joke also fell flat. Then Kimmel descended into a long monologue about himself and what he has gone through and all the support he has received from a long list of famous people and how important his show is. He went on about how important it was to be able to share his beliefs. I prefer jokes, but who am I to tell Kimmel what to do? Personally, I didn't think what he said that got him into this situation was a fireable offense, but I will also defend advertisers and affiliate stations who didn't think what Kimmel said was appropriate. That's just business. The Ted Cruz casting spells on the Smurfs joke was lost on me. Could someone explain it in the comments? He thanked conservative voices. Well, Jimmy thanked conservative voices for defending his right to his $1 million paycheck, but then curiously slapped back with, even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. That struck me as shockingly petty. You just listed conservatives who defended your right to bore people to death every weekday evening, and this is how you thank them? A shiv to the gut. But this was Kimmel's all about me monologue, and there was no place for magnanimity. Then he went into a screed about what government should and should not be allowed to say on television, which was a lie. He never mentioned the advertiser's role in his after-school detention. Then came the part we were all anticipating. He said, "I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind, but I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man." Kimmel said, his voice breaking, "I believe this was a heartfelt, well-rehearsed comment. I'm sure they debated the placement of this. I would have loved to have heard that discussion." He went on to say, "Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of a completely disturbed individual." Well, that is debatable. He then went into the woe is me part, where he talked about all his right-leaning friends and family who hate him and how he gets lots of death threats. "It's not a competition, Jim." He said, "This show is not important. What is important is that we live in a country that allows us to have a show like this." What on earth does that mean? You live in a country that allowed Max Headroom to air, but then killed it because of poor ratings. Then he talked about the threat to the First Amendment, which many on the left, who up until this point didn't believe in the First Amendment, neglecting to add that corporations have no obligation to the First Amendment. First Amendment limits government action, not the actions of private companies or individuals. Why does a Canadian know this but not Jimmy Kimmel and his coterie of butthurt sycophants? The Kimster then made a visual joke between Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, Carr, as in a car, and a Cybertruck car with Trump painted on the side. Big laughs from the folks still in kindergarten. The clip showing Trump on a plane extolling the fact that Kimmel has no ratings was followed by Jimmy saying, "I do tonight," which was a great joke. Followed by an obligatory Epstein Files joke. That was followed by, honestly, the best joke of the evening. Jimmy mentions that Disney has demanded that he read the following statement, and he pulls out a piece of paper and reads, "To reactivate your Disney Plus and Hulu account," etc., etc. I love that. Then more self-serving First Amendment nonsense, followed by a list of explicitly Democrat left-wing talking points as if he was running for office. We didn't need this exposition. Everyone knows where you stand. Besides, it's not entertaining. However, it received a huge ovation. But let's move on to something I found very telling. Jimmy then talked about Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's wife's appearance at Charlie's memorial, where she publicly forgave the shooter. Let me play you that moment.
And I don't know if you saw this on Sunday. Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow. If you believe...
Please, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's a pretty weak reaction, especially compared to what he got for extolling the Democrat platform a moment earlier. Jimmy's audience doesn't want to give Charlie's death an inch. That's a lot of deep-seated resentment. Did most of Kimmel's audience rejoice over Charlie's death? Probably. I honestly thought Kimmel was trying to bridge a gap, but apparently to no avail. The intro segment ended with Kimmel talking with the FCC chair played by Robert De Niro doing his mobster shtick. It was excruciatingly unfunny and reminded me that Kimmel is not worth wasting an hour on every night. The final joke count out of 28 minutes came to 9 total jokes, out of which 4 landed. That's a terrible ratio. I would have definitely advised against the self-serving defender of free late-night speech monologue. I would have tried to make it as funny as humanly possible, along with the asides to Kirk. And as you said, thanks to Trump and others, you have received this gift of curiosity, and you wasted the time proving why few people watch your show. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.